Good evening and a very warm welcome, bringing to you the very latest from here at home and around the world. This is Primetime News on TV1. I'm Peruni Karunaratna. We're coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Before we head on to your stories in detail, first up is a look at tonight's top stories. No fuel shortage in the country. Neither will the government allow one to occur. Government pledges again.
කිසිදු තෙල් හිගයක් ඇත්තේ නැහැ. එම තිල් හිගයක් ඇති වෙන්න දෙන්නෙත් නැහැ අපේ ආණ්ඩුව යටතේ.
Strict measures will be taken against all saboteurs. Ceylon Petroleum Corporation warns. Sri Lanka authorized to draw $334 million under IMF's extended fund facility arrangement. Over 4,900 female domestic workers sent abroad on tourist visas. A revelation made in COPE. Trump and Zelensky share heated exchange at White House. Russia responds. What you just witnessed was the situation that unfolded last night and today in various parts of Sri Lanka. Now, what exactly happened? Is this another fuel shortage like during the Rajapaksa administration in 2022? Are we back to the era of long queues? This is the question that everyone has been asking. Meanwhile, the government emphasized today that there is no possibility of a fuel shortage in the country. The root cause of this issue appears to be the commission rates provided to distributors. What is really happening here? So, what is this issue? The issue began when the government decided to abolish the 3% commission currently given to fuel distributors and implement a new payment formula starting today. The National Audit Office and the judiciary have both confirmed that the additional 3% commission previously received by fuel distributors was illegal. The commission, amounting to over 35 billion rupees annually, was being distributed among fewer than 1,000 fuel distributors instead of benefiting the treasury. This situation arose from a circular issued by the government on the 10th of March 2022, which mandated an additional 3% commission for fuel distributors to cover the increased fuel prices. According to the agreement, if the diesel price exceeded 121 rupees, the corresponding 3% commission had to be paid. However, it later became evident that this system was unfairly distributing a significant amount of public funds among a small group of distributors. Consequently, efforts were being made to change this unjust 3% commission, leading to legal challenges from the distributors. Despite seeking relief from various courts, including the District Court, the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, all these courts have now rejected the distributors' requests for interim injunctions. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation has stated that the latest bold and correct decision was made to end the unfair practice of diverting public funds to a small group of businessmen. The CPC also emphasized that the 230 plus fuel stations owned by the corporation are public assets and should not be used to exploit the public. Today, people were seen queuing at several fuel stations across the country. Samanture, Gaul, Jaffna, Ratnapura, Matale, Bingiriya.
අර 103ක් මේකට කොමිසයක් ඉල්ලනවානේ. ඒක තමයි ප්‍රශ්න වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. අපි කියන්නේ දෙන්න එපා කියලා.
ආණ්ඩුව නරක නැහැ. මිනිස්සු කලබල වෙලා නැහැ. මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ මේ විපක්ෂය තමයි මේ කලබල වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ ඉන්න මිනිස්සුන්ට කරන් යන්න ඉඩ දෙන්න ඕන. මොකද ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. නැත්තම් මේ රටක් මෙහෙම විනාශ වෙන්න දෙන්න බෑනේ.
What are fuel distributors saying?
මෙම 103 කොමිස් මුදලක් බෙදුම්කරුවන්ට ලැබෙනවා කියලා. රටේ තියෙනවා ගිවිසුම් ප්‍රකාර 50ක්. ඒ 50 අනුව
The 3% commission is legally agreed upon. Several cases are currently pending in court. The court has instructed both parties to discuss and find a solution. However, the government unilaterally issued a circular abolishing the 3% commission. We maintain that this circular is illegal and that the commission we receive is lawful.
ඉතින් මෙම චක්‍රය කියන්නේ අනීතිකයි කියලා. අපිට ලැබෙන කොමිස් මුදල නීත්‍යානුකූලයි.
The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation states that there is no fuel shortage in the country. The CPC chairman said that fuel distribution is taking place as usual.
ඒගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ මේක අනීතික නෑ මේක නීතිකයි කියලා. අපි තමයි අනීතිකයි කියන්නේ. ඇත්තටම ගත්තොත් මේක අනීතිකයි. මේ තියෙන්නේ 2024 8 වෙනි මාසේ 30 වෙනිදා. උසාවියේ ගණපු තීන්දුව ඒකෙදි කියනවා.
They claim this is legal, but we say it's not. The court's decision on the 30th of August 2024 stated that the 3% commission was unfairly taking public funds and distributing them among 1,400 distributors, violating Articles 12 and 27 of the Constitution. The court ordered the immediate removal of the interim injunction. If this decision is not implemented, who will be responsible? I will be. That's why we clarified that the 3% commission is impractical. The commission is based on sales revenue, which is determined by 3 factors: global market price, landing cost and exchange rate. The government also imposes taxes. Why should we give a profit margin? The commission should be relative to their operational costs, such as electricity bills, water bills, salaries and maintenance. My responsibility is to protect both parties. Therefore, we requested the Ministry Secretary to form an expert committee to create a transparent formula based on actual costs. This formula will be implemented, ensuring no issues. The process is very transparent. We invite everyone to discuss and resolve any issues. If there are a few disruptive individuals, the government will address it. We are not prepared to unfairly distribute 37 billion rupees of public funds among a few individuals. If anyone causes disruption, we will take necessary actions for the benefit of the public.
Transparent. ඒකින්ද මේ රටේ ජනතාව අපහසුතාවයටපත් කරලා ලොකු දේවල් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. සාකච්ඡා කරන්න එන කට්ටියත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරන්න එන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැතුව කඩාකප්පල්කාරී කීප දෙනෙක් ඉන්නව නම් ආණ්ඩුව එක බලාගන්න. රටේ ජනතාවගේ සල්ලි බිලියන 37ක් අසාධාරණ විදියට අරගෙන කීප දෙනෙක් අතර බෙදා දෙන්න අපි සූදානම් නැහැ. ඒ හින්දා කවුරු හරි කඩාකප්පල්කාරී දෙයක් කරනවා නම් ඒ සඳහා ගන්න ඕන ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්නවා රටේ ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන්.
Social media has been buzzing with reactions to the distributors' strike. Despite the strike, fuel distribution continued as usual at the Kolonava and Mathura storage terminals, which are owned by the CPC. This was the situation at the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited. Operations were smooth at the Mathura terminal as well.
අපිට ලැබිලා තියෙනවා CPC එකේ සල්ලි බැඳලා ඇනෝම් කරලා තියෙනවා ලෝඩ් 1696ක්. IOC එකේ 471ක්. සිනොපෙක් එකේ 391ක්. RM පාක් එකේ 366ක්. සාමාන්‍ය පරිදිම බෙදාහැරීම් කරන කොළොන්නාවට ඇවිල්ලා තුන බවුසර් 140ක් විතර සාමාන්‍ය විදියටම රටේ තෙල් බෙදාහැරීම් කටයුතු සිද්ධ වෙනවා. රටේ ජනතාව කලබල වෙන්න කිසිම හේතුවක් නැහැ.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Economic Development, Professor Anil Jayantha, reassured Parliament today that there is no fuel shortage in the country.
කනිතේ සංස්ථාවේ ලාභය වියදම් ටික එකතු කරාට පස්සේ අපි උදාහරණයක් ලෙස හිතුවොත් අපි දෙමු ඩීසල්.
After accounting for all the expenses of the CPC, let's take diesel as an example. If the expense is 120 rupees, the profit for the distributors can only be calculated from that 120 rupees. However, over the past few years, what has happened is that the government taxes have been added to that 120 rupees. Additionally, the amount the CPC has to pay their treasury for loans obtained has also been included in every litre of petrol. As a result, when all these factors are added, the 120 rupees increases to 200 to 300 rupees. Since 2009, the profits for the distributors has been calculated after including taxes. As you know, 3% of 120 rupees and 3% of 300 rupees are two entirely different amounts. A decision was made regarding this, but it was presented to court by the distributors. The court decision should only be implemented if it benefits the distributors. Now earlier, you all mentioned that the CEB reduced prices through the PUCSL, and you were pleased that it benefited the people of the country. So why aren't you happy with this decision as well? Are you suggesting that for the business interests and need of a small group of people, the parliament that has the mandate of the people should be forced to yield? In this matter, we are acting in accordance with the guidance of the courts. We will not allow this wrongdoing to continue. This issue has been identified not just by us, but also by previous ministers in power. We will never agree to the attempts to create a fuel crisis in the country. There is no fuel shortage. We are managing this situation and have acted according to the court's orders. Therefore, we kindly request the businessmen to refrain from creating any more unnecessary issues for the country.
At a press conference held in Colombo today, the Democratic National Alliance expressed their views on the matter.
Even from taxes, commissions are being taken here. If taxes are collected, we cannot pay commissions with tax money. We saw that the government has introduced a new formula to correct this issue. We know that many of these CPC fuel stations are owned by parliamentarians representing the opposition and their associates. They hold the power. At this moment, they are looking to discredit the government by not placing fuel orders and causing disruptions. Therefore, we tell the President and the Prime Minister that if they continue to do this, the government can revoke their licenses and adopt a different approach. No one has the right to create colonies within the country and cause inconvenience to the public as they please. This is what everyone has been doing in the past. On one hand, they manipulate customs whenever they want. Everyone is creating their own autocracy and power. These actions should not continue. This has been going on for 10 to 15 years and no one has addressed it. They never talked about the money they were receiving. The issue here is the loss of that money. That is why they are creating such disruptive plans.
මුදල් සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඒගොල්ලෝ කතා කරේ නැහැ. මේ තියෙන්නේ ඒ මුදල් අයිමීවීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් තියෙන ගැටලුව ඒකට විරුද්ධව තමයි මෙවැනි ආකාරයේ කඩාකප්පල්කාරී වැඩපිළිවෙල හදන්නේ.
The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund has successfully completed the third review under the 48-month extended fund facility arrangement for Sri Lanka. The completion of the third review under the 48-month extended fund facility arrangement for Sri Lanka allowed Sri Lankan authorities to draw approximately $334 million. To date, the total IMF financial support disbursed to Sri Lanka under this arrangement amounts to about $1.34 billion. The EFF arrangement, approved on the 20th of March 2023 for a total of 2.286 billion SDR, aims to support Sri Lanka's efforts to restore and maintain macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability. The program also focuses on protecting the poor and vulnerable, building external buffers and enhancing growth-oriented structural reforms, including strengthening governance. Following the Executive Board discussion on Sri Lanka, Kenji Okumura, Deputy Managing Director, issued the following statement, quote, "Reforms in Sri Lanka are bearing fruit and the economic recovery has been remarkable. Inflation remains low, revenue collection is improving and reserves continue to accumulate. Economic growth averaged 4.3% since growth resumed in the third quarter of 2023. By end 2024, Sri Lanka's real GDP is estimated to have recovered 40% of its loss incurred between 2018 and 2023. The recovery is expected to continue in 2025. As the economy is still vulnerable, it is critical to sustain the reform momentum to ensure macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability and promote long-term inclusive growth. There is no room for policy errors." Program performance has been strong with all quantitative targets met except for the indicative target on social spending. Most structural benchmarks due by end January 2025 were either met or implemented with delay. Sustained revenue mobilization is crucial to restoring fiscal sustainability and ensuring that the government can continue to provide essential services. Boosting tax compliance and refraining from tax exemptions are key to maintaining support for economic reform. reforms. To ease economic hardship and ensure the poor and vulnerable can participate in Sri Lanka's recovery, it is important to meet social spending targets and continue with reforms of the social safety net. Going forward, social support needs to be well targeted towards the most disadvantaged so as to promote inclusive growth with limited fiscal space. Restoring cost recovery electricity pricing without delay is needed to contain fiscal risks from state-owned enterprises. A smoother execution of capital spending within the fiscal envelope would foster medium-term growth. Progress to advance the debt restructuring to restore Sri Lanka's debt sustainability is noteworthy. The recent successful completion of the bond exchange is a major milestone towards restoring debt sustainability. Timely finalization of bilateral agreements with creditors in the official creditor committee and with remaining creditors is a priority now. Monetary policy should prioritize maintaining price stability, supported by sustained commitment to prohibit monetary funding and safeguard central bank independence. Continued exchange rate flexibility and gradually phasing out the balance of payments measures remains critical to rebuild external buffers and facilitate rebalancing. Resolving non-performing loans, strengthening governance and oversight of state-owned banks, and improving the insolvency and resolution frameworks are important priorities to revive credit growth and support the economic recovery. Prolonged structural challenges need to be addressed to unlock Sri Lanka's long-term potential, including steadfast implementation of the governance reforms." Unquote.
During the discussion with the IMF, what was the compromise on the SOE reforms? Because they were insisting on the SOE reforms in the last government. But you all have said you want to basically change it. So what was the compromise on the SOE restructuring?
Yeah, again, if I just brief it, IMF did not impose anything or force anything. The IMF's concerns, especially when we work within a kind of a constrained framework, the Treasury should not bear the unnecessary cost of SOEs, because when SOE comes out with a particular product, especially energy or any other thing, it should be cost reflective, and there shouldn't be unnecessary burden to the Treasury, because we had the bad experience of corruption and unnecessary borrowing, wrong dealing, especially Sri Lankan Airlines, the leasing agreement, even the cancellation incurred lots of costs. So therefore, it is a myth that IMF insisted. IMF wanted to have a very disciplined approach towards restructuring. Restructuring does not mean that selling off. So we are working on it. We have just appointed a committee. They are looking after all these SOEs to take the final decision how best we can manage these things without passing or having a burden on the Treasury, and meantime to increase the efficiency. And so these are the approaches. And again, how best we could utilize all those institutions in order to make sure that there would not be market failures, there would not be any oligarchies in the market, and to ensure that we would be able to provide goods and services to the market at an affordable rate, continuously in good quality. So this is the line of dealing with SOEs, and that restructuring process is going on.
And for the next trans minister, what are the key benchmark we have to accomplish before the next IMF?
Actually, that depends on the next the review, that the fourth review. So immediately after this, the release of the fourth tranche, the fourth review will start probably in April. So during that, so the things are open for discussion. But while continuing the existing benchmark, already certain benchmarks are there. Some alterations can be done from time to time depending on the requirement. For instance, the building external buffer, the reserve. So it is not mere statistics or deterministic science. It varies from time to time. So then and there, by assessing the given situation, we would discuss. We are very open, and that could be seen in the fourth review.
Case file.
It was revealed in the Committee on Public Enterprises that the Bureau of Foreign Employment had violated the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment Act by sending 4,942 female domestic workers abroad on tourist visas. It has been revealed that information regarding the employment of 3,954 female domestic workers was not entered into the embassy's information system.
ඒකේ සමින්ද ජයසේකර තමයි නමින් තමයි ඇක්ටින් චෙයාමන් විදියට තමයි අත්සන් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. පනතේ තියෙන තත්ත්වයට පිටින් මෙවැනි චක්‍රයකයක් අවශ්‍ය වුණේ ඇයි?
රටේ අතිවිච්ච ආර්ථික අර්බුදයත් එක්ක හුඟක් මිනිස්සු රටෙන් යන්න ගියා. ජාවාරමක් වශයෙන්ම සිද්ධ වුණා. රටේ මිනිස්සුන්ම අරගෙන ගිහිල්ලා ඩුබායි වලට විසිට් වීසා මත ඒගොල්ලොම බොහෝ අතරමං වෙලා උද්ඝෝෂණ කරලා සහ විශාල රටේ ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ඒක මැඩපවත්වන්නට අපි විශාල ක්‍රියාමාර්ග කිහිපයක් ගත්තා.
පනත අභිබවලා මෙවැනි සභාපති චක්‍රයකයන් නිකුත් කරන්න ඔබතුමාට තියෙන ඔබ ඇක්ටින් චෙයාමන් විදියට ඒතර වැඩ කරන්නේ බලය ආවේ කොහෙන්ද? ඔබතුමා හිතලා ගහන චක්‍රයකයක්ද නැත්නම් බෝඩ් එකේ අනුමැතියකින් ඔබතුමාට පවරන කාර්යයක්ද? මොකක්ද මේක?
මට බෝඩ් එකේ අනුමැතියක් තිබ්බද කියන එක මතක නෑ මේකට. ඒක චෙක් කරලා බලන්න ඕනේ.
මේ පනතට පටහැනි කාරණයකට අනුමැතිය දුන්නේ කවුද? උපත දුන්නේ කවුද? ඒ නිලධාරියා කවුද?
පනත උල්ලංඝනය කරලා රාජ්‍යයක් විදියට අපි විසිට් වීසා වගේ මොකක් හරි ක්‍රමවේදයකට නිශ්චිත ගිවිසුමකින් තොරව වෙනත් කවුරු හරි ඒජන්සි එකක අත්සන් කරන ගිවිසුමකට අපි නිලධාරීන් යවන එකක් මේ ඩොලර් 100ක් අරගෙන රාජ්‍යයට සම්බන්ධ ආයතනයක් මේක මේ හියුමන් ට්‍රැෆිකින් වලට උදව් කිරීමක් වගේනේ.
වැඩේ කියන්නේ ජාවාරම එළිය යනවා. පස්සේ ජාවාරම ඔයගොල්ලෝ කරන්න ගන්නවා. මේ විසිට් වීසා වලින් යවන්න රාජතාන්ත්‍රිකවත් බරපතල ප්‍රශ්නයක්. දැන් විසිට් වීසා වලින් පිටරටවල මිනිස්සු අරන් ගිහලා පන්නන එක ජාවාරම්කාරයෝ කරන වැඩක්.
අපි දකුණු කොරියාවට යවන්නේ විසිට් වීසා වලින්. විසිට් වීසා කියන එක එච්චර අදාළ දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. රැකියාවයි අපිට වැදගත් වෙන සහ ගිවිසුමයි.
අපිට වැදගත් වෙන රැකියාව කියලා කියනවා මේ මහත්තුරු. ඒ කියන්නේ සල්ලි විතරයි.
Case file.
ගෘහ සේවිකාවන් 4942ක් විදේශගත වූ අතර ඉන් 3954ක් වෙත රැකියාවක් ලබා දුන් බවට අදාළ ලියකියවිලි තානාධිපති කාර්යාලයේ තොරතුරු පරිගණක පද්ධතියේ උඩුගත කර නොතිබිනි.
ඒක නෙවෙයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ඒ ෆ්ලෝ යත් එක්ක.
දැන් ඕක මෙහෙම ගන්න.
ඕක ගහන්නේ తాවකාලික දෙයක්. අනිත් එක ඕක වළංගු වෙන්නේ දවස් 30කට. ඒකෝට తాවකාලිකවනේ අපි යවන්නේ.
ඒ දවස් 45න් පසු ඒගොල්ලන්ට මොකද කරන්නේ?
ගිවිසුම කාර්යය
ලංකාවට එවන්න ඕන ඒජන්සිය එම රටේ ඒජන්සිය.
එහෙම කී දෙනෙක් එවලා තියෙනවද?
ඔව් එවලා තියෙනවා.
කී දෙනෙක්?
මට ඒක නම් දැනුම් දෙන්න බෑ මේ අවස්ථාවේ. 45ක් ඇතුළත පුද්ගලයෙක් ආපහු ලංකාවට එවන්න
හරි ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමාලා තප්පරයක් දෙන්න.
බ්ලැක් ලිස්ට් කරන්නේ සමාගම. ඒතකොට අරයාගේ ජීවිතේට මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒකත් බ්ලැක් ලිස්ට් වෙනවනේ එතන. ඒ මනුස්සයා නන්නත්තර වෙනවා.
ගිවිසුමක් සහිතව නම් යන්නේ දවස් 30කුත් දීලා තව 15කුත් දෙන්න දෙයක්ුත් නැහැ. ගිවිසුමක් සහිතව නම්. ඔබතුමාලා මේක ගැහුවේ හිතුමතේට.
දැන් එයා පැන්න කියන්නේ පැන්න කියලා එකක් නැහැ නේ. එයා ගිහිල්ලා තියන්නේ ওই වැඩේටනේ.
මේගොල්ලෝ පන්නලානේ ඒකයි. Case file.
කියන්නේ මේ චක්‍රයක සියල්ලම අවලංගු කරන්න ඕන. මොන හේතුවකටවත් මේක නියාමන ආයතනයක් නම් අදාළ ඒජන්සි.
All these circulars should be cancelled. Definitely, if it is a regulatory body, the relevant agency should not be involved in this. Therefore, the act should be amended. We as the COPE committee are making a recommendation to consider the act. What is contained in this is a story of an institution completely neglecting its responsibility and allowing human trafficking. The institution should prioritize its responsibility and conduct a thorough investigation into the total damage caused to those who have left. To officers who made such decisions without authority or proper assignment should be appropriately disciplined, with specific penalties applied in accordance with the institution's code. I recommend this to the Secretary as Chief Accounting Officer.
News First with the people.
On to a headline-making international news item now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's meeting with Donald Trump ended in disaster on Friday after the two leaders clashed in an extraordinary exchange before the world's media at the White House over the war with Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Washington late Thursday to sign a deal granting the US access to Ukraine's rare minerals. US President Donald Trump welcomed Ukrainian President Zelensky at the White House on Friday. Ukraine's president had been hoping to leave the White House on Friday after positive talks with Donald Trump. Instead, US President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance laid into Zelensky, saying he showed disrespect, driving relations with Kyiv's most important wartime ally to a new low.
Do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. You're playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
President Trump said that Zelensky hasn't been alone and that the U.S. gave Ukraine through its former President Joe Biden $350 billion.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment,
you invited me
if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
Less.
In 2 weeks. Of course he has.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you
that wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
After a tense Oval Office meeting, President Zelensky rushed into a black SUV. The scheduled press conference between Zelensky and Trump was cancelled after an angry exchange in the Oval Office. President Donald Trump told reporters that Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky overplayed his hand during their clash.
We had a meeting today, as you know, with President Zelensky, and I would say it didn't work out exactly great from his standpoint. I think he very much overplayed his hand. We're looking for peace. We're not looking for somebody that's going to sign up as strong power and then not make peace because they feel emboldened, and that's what I saw happening. I'm looking for peace. We're not looking to go into a 10-year war and play games. We want peace.
Hours after the public confrontation, the Ukrainian leader defended himself during an in-studio interview on Fox News.
Do you think your relationship with Donald Trump, President Trump, after today, can be salvaged?
Yes, of course, because it's relations more than two presidents. It's the historical relations, strong relations between our people. And that's why I always began with to thank your people, from our people. And this is the most important. And of course, thankful to President and of course to Congress, but first of all to your people. Your people helped to save our people.
Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy head of the Russian Security Council, wrote on Telegram that Trump had given Ukraine a strong slap on the wrist. Maria Zakharova, the spokesperson for Russia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, also praised Trump for showing restraint. European leaders are rallying around Ukraine after President Volodymyr Zelensky clashed with US President Donald Trump in the Oval Office. French President Emmanuel Macron, who met with Trump earlier this week, says, quote, "There is an aggressor, Russia. There is a victim, Ukraine. We were right to help Ukraine and sanction Russia 3 years ago and to keep doing so," unquote. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz also writes in a post on X that, quote, "Nobody wants peace more than Ukrainians do," unquote, before adding that Ukraine can rely on Germany and on Europe. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni says an immediate summit is needed between the US, Europe and its allies to discuss the war in Ukraine. The UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer is yet to make a comment, but a spokesperson for Number 10 says he has spoken to both Trump and Zelensky and that he retains unwavering support for Ukraine and is doing all he can to find a path forward to a lasting peace. Ukraine's leader also received support from senior EU leaders. President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen has said, quote, "You are never alone, dear President. We will continue working with you for a just and lasting peace," unquote. Zelensky has responded to many of his European counterparts, expressing thanks for their support in what is now a long list on his own X account. On to more local news now. Police successfully intercepted a lorry that was being hijacked and opened fire at it in Battala. A lorry, which was travelling from Norochole to Battala, was hijacked en route to its destination. The suspect seized the vehicle while the driver had parked the lorry at a tea shop. The police were later notified of the lorry's route through its GPS signals. Later, based on information received from the operations room of the Western Province South Motor Traffic Division, the Kaduwela police attempted to intercept the lorry in Balampitia. However, their efforts were unsuccessful. As the lorry continued towards Kaduwela, several police motorcycle units pursued the vehicle and fired multiple shots, yet the lorry proceeded on to Talahena. The lorry then drove towards Battaramulla, colliding with two cars, a bus and a three-wheeler on the road. It also damaged a gate at the rear of the Ministry of Education in Isirupaya before fleeing the scene. Subsequently, the Kaduwela police successfully intercepted the lorry near the Kaduwela court complex by setting up roadblocks in the Kaduwela town. The Kaduwela police reported that several shots were fired at the lorry's tires during the pursuit. The gunfire caused damage to the tires and the suspect was apprehended just as he was about to abandon the lorry and flee. Authorities also stated that the individual is suspected of having previously stolen vehicles. Officers from the Mathura Division Criminal Investigation Bureau today arrested a suspect from Midigama, Mathura, with 48 rounds of ammunition used for T-56 firearms. They also recovered a round of ammunition used for 84 S firearms from his possession. And in more local news, the Proceeds of Crimes Bill was tabled in Parliament today. The proposed law includes legal provisions for recovering and confiscating assets acquired through criminal activities. A mother, helpless and vulnerable, with no door to lock out the dangers, no roof to shelter her children from the rain, trapped within 4 crumbling walls. She fights with all her strength, desperately trying to protect her little ones from the terrifying wild elephants that roam freely. Amidst the chaos and fear, Gammadda became her only refuge, offering her a glimmer of hope in an otherwise unforgiving world. Hambantota Balsapugala, this is where Sandamali, her husband and their 2 children lived. It wasn't a house, it wasn't a shed, but a place they were confined to. The meager wages from daily labor were barely enough to feed their children. But today, Gammadda changed their fate. In just 3 short months, a brand new house was built and handed over to Sandamali and her family. To witness Sandamali's joyful tears, a dream made real, Metsili Elrich, who generously provided the financial support for the house, is no longer with us. Amidst the blessings of the Venerable Viharagala Dhammakittithero, chief incumbent of the Kenhatha Balsapugala Purana Viharaya and the Mahasangha, the house was handed over in the presence of Hambantota Additional District Secretary Chandana Ratnayaka, Suryavava Assistant Divisional Secretary Manu Jayawardena, Suryavava Police Officer in Charge IMS Rajaratna, Bedivava Economic Development Officer Champika Samaravikrama and Ranjani Dayasili, Secretary of the Balsapugala Joint Environmental Farmers Association. Gammadda Secretary General Prasanna Atukorala and members of Gammadda were also present at this long-awaited occasion. In an era where people's needs are often confined to just promises and paperwork, Gammadda will continue to be with the people, making dreams a reality. The cycle parade of St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, organised in line with the 146th edition of the Intercollegiate Cricket Encounter between St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia and Royal College, Colombo, was held in Colombo today. The parade is still ongoing.
It's a rainy evening here in Colombo, but the big match season is heating up in Sri Lanka. And right now I'm here at the Thomian Cycle Parade, which started from the St. Thomas's Preparatory School in Kolpiti, and it will be going to St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia. And talking about this big match, the 146th Battle of the Blues, which will be held from the 6th of March until the 8th of March. And we'll be giving you more updates about the Battle of the Blues held between 2 rival schools, between St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia and Royal College, Colombo. And right now, Colombo is filled with the colors of blue and black.
Well, that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. Thank you for watching. Take care. Good night.